Hello to the World Wide Web and to the people that are out there that are possibly tuning in to another OMD fan interview stroke discussion. We're doing things a little bit different tonight as I've got two groups of fans with us. So I'm joined with Craig and Singer and also Paul. We're going to do an introduction in a minute. So my microphone for some reason is crackling. I can hear it now, but I think that may be a bit better. Right. Craig and Singer, let's start with you guys first. Do you want to do a quick introduction, who you are, where you are, and what your connection is with OMD?
Yeah, well, Craig Martin, who've said it, my wife Singer is sitting here. We're in a lovely place called Falkirk in the central heart of Scotland, and my association with OMD goes back to 1979, I think it was, the first time I heard them on the John Peel radio show. And my first LP I bought, I think it was 199 organisation, was 1980, and that was me hooked ever since then. I've got a record that I hold myself, I think. I won't ever get in the Guinness Book of Records, but I've attended every OMD concert in Scotland since 1980. Everyone, including festivals. But that's my association with OMD.
Thank you ever so much for that. Mr. Turner, would you like to do a little introduction about yourself, a quick one, maybe what your connection is, especially with the fan sites, because obviously you've been to a number of fan parties over the years as well, haven't you?
Paul, I'm in the Midlands. I'm near Wolverhampton in a village called Wombourne in Staffordshire. I discovered OMD one day in 1980 when I heard this song on the radio, and it absolutely blew my mind. It was Messages, and I couldn't believe how good it was. Got into them very quickly. Enola Gay came out, and I went to see them in concert at Wolverhampton Civic a few weeks later, and attended probably every concert, every tour. You know, the local concert to me on every tour for years. After they got back together, after the reunion, there was a period of time where I had a few issues going on. I didn't go to the first couple of concerts, but since then I've been to every tour. So I don't know how many times I've seen OMD live. I've bought every album, every single, ever since 1980. And I've never changed my view that they are, you know, my top band in the world.
I think it's absolutely remarkable that OMD have been going longer since they reunited than the first time around, and what an absolute stonking pedigree. You know, over 40 years of something that was a one night event. Craig and Singer, so do you go to concerts together?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Every concert we go together. Since we got together way back in 1981. Singer's a newer member of the OMD fan. That was 1981. She became a member. I'm a bit older than her, so yeah, we'll go together. We have a day out, night out. In fact, to be fair, it's no my night out. But what we did, our 30th wedding anniversary was 2013. OMD were playing at Glasgow Royal Concert Hall, and that was part of our wish list was to meet them, and that was the first time I actually met the band. And very lucky enough, we met OMD when Malcolm Holmes was still the drummer, so it was good to actually meet Malcolm, Paul, Martin and Andy together. It's the first time I've ever actually met them. Not a time I'd been to concerts, not a time I'd bought records, not a time I'd been what I would say a fan, I suppose. I never actually met them, and that was the first time we did it, and we did it for our anniversary. In fact, we've got the frame up here. There's a frame from that concert behind us on the wall.
Which year? What year was that?
2013. Yeah.
So I think I was actually at that gig, and I think I photographed it from memory.
Yeah, 2013. I'm just looking at the the um, the list, the record list, and it's May the 12th, 2013. Yeah. So there you are.
So
You
Craig,
probably took the photograph off us then.
possibly. So Craig Singer, which of you is the best dancer? Which one? Come on, which one of you is
Oh,
the best dancer?
Craig.
I, I, I've,
He's got the air wings and everything.
I just everything moves when I dance, legs, arms, everything moves in all directions. So I suppose, yeah, yeah, Sting's a bit more subdued. She's a better dancer than me, but I'm maybe got all the moves that, especially for an OMD fan, I suppose I've got all the moves. Uh,
So Paul, I'm going to ask you maybe a silly question now. Does Jackie come to the concerts with you, or are you a lone goer?
Yes. Yeah, Jackie and my son. And at one point, when my mum was still alive, I took her to the NEC in Birmingham. I can't remember what the venue was called at that point. It's been different names over the years. But yeah, the NEC. I took my mum. So 3 generations of this family have been, and like I say, my wife, my previous wife, and my girlfriend before her. So there's been a few people accompanying me to the OMD concerts.
Uh, Let me just give a quick shout out to Robert Reed. I believe he's watching us on YouTube. Hi, Robert. And over on Facebook, I've got who is it? Is it Teresa on Facebook? So hello, guys. Thank you for tuning in to us. I'll let you know, Paul. I've been married more than once myself, and I've had certainly three wives have been to OMD concerts with me. Let's not go there.
At least we choose a band that other people will like. So I've never had anybody
yeah,
really
absolutely.
complain that they've had to go to an OMD concert. So they have wide appeal, so that makes things easier.
So, Paul, have you got any sort of particular standout tours that that? I mean, for myself, obviously, the early days I can remember better than possibly the newer days. But have you got a particular tour? What's sort of memorable in your mind?
Well, I mean, I think as the years go by, there are more and more songs. I mean, I remember going to the first time I saw OMD was their first concert, their first tour on their own. I saw them all Wolverhampton Civic, and that was songs I didn't know. I knew Enola Gay and Messages, and that was all I knew. It was the first time I'd ever heard Electricity. I heard live. And Red Flame, White Light. But they didn't have that many songs to do then. And then over the years, obviously, they made more and more songs, more and more singles. I mean, in terms of which albums, I mean, the Architecture and Morality album it's always, I think most OMD fans see that as one of their favourites. It's my favourite. And then the Punishment of Luxury album. There's so many good songs on that. So I thought that was the best album since Architecture and Morality. And I know a lot of OMD fans will criticise me for having that view, but I think there's some great songs on there. So those two stand out in terms of the songs that were played on the tour.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So I don't know whether you saw the interview I did with Andy a few weeks ago, and he was actually saying Punishment of Luxury is one of his best albums. And I think maybe, I mean, there's
I felt a little bit out of things because I don't think many OMD fans think that, but I definitely do. So I was really pleased to hear Andy say it.
I love Punishment of Luxury. I'm not a fan of History of Modern. I don't like it very much. But I think one thing that stood out with Punishment was Ghost Star, where to some extent there was that's become the new Stanlow. What an absolutely fantastic song that was.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think you and I had a little bit of a discussion. I remember you laughing at what I said. That when Isotype came out, it was the first thing we heard off the album. I was really disappointed, and I thought this just isn't a single. It just didn't seem like a single to me. But then once I heard more, and once the album came out, and I put Isotype in with everything else that was there, the whole thing fits together so well that you know, I love it absolutely everything on the album. Yeah, it's I'm really looking forward, because I look forward probably more to new music, new material from OMD than I look forward to concerts. I go to the concerts, but it's the new material that I'm really looking forward to. So I'm really looking forward to the new album.
Yeah, so it's really good, you know, that obviously to some extent lockdown has given creative Tuesdays, and obviously we're all going to be looking forward to it. So Craig and Singer, do you individually here? I'm not sharing between, but Craig, Singer, do you each of you have a particular favourite standout tour in relation to an album that's you can remember?
Do you want to go first? Or?
The first one I ever went to.
First one you went to?
Aye, so that would be
1981.
1981,
First one you went
because
to.
that was the first one I'd ever went to, and it was absolutely brilliant. And when you get into a concert and you can't stop dancing until you go home, and keep singing the songs when you get on the train to go home, I think that is the best. It was a brilliant one, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And hearing the songs that I'd heard when Craig introduced them, like Joan Arc and Electricity and Message and all these, it was great to hear it getting played live. It was lovely.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think, I think they're one, and please, no doubt people will disagree with me, but I think they're one of the best bands to see live you'll ever see, or I'll ever see, I think. And I used to go to a lot of pop concerts, and especially when I was younger, used to go to Apollo in Glasgow, and OMD just stood out, and I went to the first concert. Just the whole thing, I got taken aback by just the effect it had on you when you attended, because the music was just amazing. And I know I'm going back to the first couple of albums, but the music then, even then, was so different from any other concert you'd been at, because it was different then. The music was different, and where people accept it now in the days, it was a new music to us all. And I think it was just great. So the first concert to me is one that stands out. And I know one of the concerts that I really liked, and I know people are going to laugh at this, but Dazzle Ships, I thought that was a great concert. I thought the Dazzle Ship concert was absolutely fantastic. Not only for the scenery on the set, now the set was made up, but also the songs. And plus, they had the Cocktail Twins as a support band. So I suppose that made it a bit better for us up in Scotland, because they were quite good at the time. They were quite a popular band up here. But and I agree with Paul. I think, soon you ask about what's your best album, what's your worst album. To be fair, I've not really got a bad album, because I pretty well like all OMD songs, some better than others. But I do agree with the Punishment of Luxury. It stands out as one of their best albums they've ever made for a long time. It is a really good album, and the music on it is really amazing. You've talked about some of the songs that are on it, but when you take some of the, I really get interested in the radio waves, arty art type stuff, precision and decay type music. I can sit and listen to that all day, because I quite like that music. And so I'm a bit different from people who just want to dance music all the time. And to be fair, Sting is absolutely correct. When you go to an OMD concert, if you're still sitting down after the second song, there is something wrong with you.
So I've just got I've lost the name here. Jackie, who's saying she thinks Punishment of Luxury is a great album. So thanks for joining us, Jackie. And hello, Neil Lloyd, who's also just joined us over on the Facebook group. Thanks for tuning in and saying hello. So moving on a little bit, let's bring Paul back in. Paul, are you doing any of the gigs in November?
Yeah, I managed to, because I bought the tickets for the the lockdown sort of set that they're doing, the lockdown concert that they're doing, I was able to get priority on the tickets. So I'm actually on the second row at the Birmingham concert, and I'm looking forward. That's the closest I've probably ever been to the front. So I'm really, I think it's November the maybe 21st, something like that. So I'm just hoping that we don't have any more restrictions between now and then, and that we're able to have a full venue.
So I spotted earlier, I think somebody posted up that some of the European dates, by the looks of it, are being rescheduled. But obviously, there's a clash now between what was happening last year that's rolled over to this year with the summer festivals. But I'm pretty confident personally that come November things will be going forward. Craig and Singer, have you got any plans for anything in November?
Yes, we do. As not to say that we're greedy, but we're going to see them both in Glasgow and in Edinburgh night after as well. So we've got tickets for both the shows, like Paul. I got the pre-sale tickets, so we're able to get tickets for both shows. So you can maybe call me a bit greedy, but I don't care. I'm great to watch them twice in a row. I did that when I was younger. We used to play in the Apollo Theatre and then we'd play at Edinburgh Playhouse. We used to go 2 nights in a row to go and see them as well. So it's great to go back to the days.
Great to get out.
It's good to get out, actually. Yeah, get a night out would be really good. So let's hopefully by November we can get a night out.
Yeah, I mean that's again that's the one fantastic thing with the OMD fans. I think the fans have got their own sort of communities, and you go to concert, and it's great to meet everybody, and everybody gets on so well. And often there's a pub nearby, a venue where you'll go and meet up with everybody. So I can't remember when we did the Glasgow one that you mentioned. We met up in some pub. I can't remember. It was about 30 of us or something. And we had a bit of a mad night. I think I drove home after that to Manchester. It's all a bit of a blur. It was I think my wife drove us home. I can't remember how I got home.
Yeah, there's a nice pub across the road from the city concert hall. Laurie's, I think it's called. Laurie's. That was probably the pub you were in because that's where most people go to. Yeah.
Yeah, I just say I can just remember. It was all a bit of a blur because we'd done a few gigs with it. I followed the band. So let's ask. I often try and ask a sort of a bit of a irrelevant question, a bit of a silly question, and I lost somebody the other night, Gracia from Portugal, when I mentioned chip and butties. She did not know what a chip butty was. She had no idea what I think. She thought I was going a bit mad and mentioned gravy on chips. So let's start with Paul. Paul, so there you are, Paul. You stood there in. I'll name a coffee chain. I don't do coffee chains, but I'll name one. So there you are in Costa Coffee, and right there in front of you is Andy McCluskey. What would you say to him?
Well, I've met Andy before at the various fan gatherings, so I don't know whether he'd remember me. But I wouldn't be as starstruck as if it was the first time I'd ever bumped into him. There was a couple of times going back over the years where we used to before these meet and greet sort of tickets used to be sold, and we used to just hang around afterwards and be allowed in after the concert and get some autographs and have a chat with the band and everything. And so I met him on those occasions. And so at those times, obviously, I'd sort of grown from 1980 when I was 15. I'd been sort of seeing them on Top of the Pops and buying their records and that sort of thing. So just to stand there and talk to all of the band was a massive thing for me. So I'd probably probably wouldn't be too starstruck because I have spoken to him on a number of occasions. That we had some issues within the fan community that I spoke to him about at one point. So he may well remember me from then. So, but I'd love to bump into him and have a good chat.
Okay, and Craig and Singer. So there you are in Glasgow, and you're just walking along, and Paul Humphreys is sort of just casually walking in front of you. Would you say anything to him? Would you ask him any questions, or would you just sort of put your heads down and don't make eye contact?
Probably the last one, but
You would,
I
yeah.
don't know. But no, I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to talk. I'd probably ask him not to sing "Souvenir" because it's one of the most liked records that are songs for the OMD that I actually like. To be fair, I'm different for other people as I say to you. Everybody, including the singer, she
Aye.
loves "Souvenir."
Aye.
I just think "Souvenirs," and yet I love "Forever Live and Die" and other songs, but I didn't like "Souvenir." So maybe ask him not to sing that. Maybe. Eh. Please don't sing that at the concert.
Please don't sing.
So just let me just give another quick shout out to Malcolm Wilson, who's saying he's got tickets for Cardiff. So Malcolm, thanks for joining us. I'm down in West Wales, myself near Newcastle Emlyn at the moment. I'm not too far away from where you are. Hello, Robert again. So Robert's commenting. So he saw them on the OMD on the ferry over to Amsterdam. That was Robert.
Yeah.
That was the most bizarre, or possibly one of the most bizarre OMD concerts I have ever in my entire life been on. Did you do that one, Craig Singer, by any chance?
No, I didn't. We actually thought about doing it, but then we had a bit of some family issues, so we couldn't make it. But it was one I was looking forward to. But if you get to tell me it's a bit bizarre, then maybe it was better not going.
It was. I mean, it was mainly Scottish fans, and they all knew how to have a good time.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Right.
and Andy, when he could touch the ceiling with his hands. Physically, his hands were it was that low. It was that was possibly maybe the Paradiso in Amsterdam where they played, made of Orleans twice, but I think the Amsterdam ferry one was definitely that was bizarre to say the least. Okay, guys, I normally keep these to about 10 minutes, sort of each. So I'm just sort of coming past the 20-minute mark.
God, I
That's
might.
not bad.
No. It's been really good to actually do this, as I say, the first time with a couple of fans. So I've got, what day is it today? I've lost that track of
It's
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
isn't it?
Tuesday.
Yeah, so we've got another live coming up Wednesday, another live coming up Thursday, and I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week with fans as well. So it's been a bit tricky trying to coordinate all of this, especially with time zones. But it's been great for you well, three of you, I should say, to take part in a beta test.
Yeah.
So, Craig, do you want to ask Paul any questions about his fandism of OMD? And Paul, do you want to ask Craig and Singer any questions? Over
Oh,
to you guys. Take me away.
well, maybe I could
First.
ask Paul. I know that when they split up, we still went and watched Andy as OMD play live. We've also bought all the records at the same time. I just wonder if Paul did the same because, and actually, some great songs came out at that time. A lot of people have got criticism of some of the music, but
You're
when you
talking
think
about
of
the
some of the
three
songs that came
albums
out,
that Andy did without the rest of the band.
yeah,
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 yeah. I carried on. I carried on being an OMD fan throughout that. I went to all the concerts.
yeah,
I say all the concerts. Each it took one concert per tour.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and bought the three albums and loved the three albums.
yeah,
Yeah. There was no point where I sort of fell out with OMD. They were all
No.
very
yeah,
good, and it was just Andy and the other
yeah.
musicians he used. People ask, I mean, Stuart's back in the band now.
Oh,
But,
Stuart's in the band, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
also great. It was also great when the comeback tour. I'll call it a comeback tour. I don't know anybody, but the comeback tour when they came, but the first tour they came back when back as a band. I thought again that was a cracking tour as
You're
well.
talking about
Really great.
the tour, the History of Modern tour.
No, before that it was the Architectural Morality tour.
Yes, they did Architecture and Morality, didn't they?
Yeah, that tour, where and it was great. I mean, I love Stanlow, so it's one of my favourite songs. So to actually hear it live, that just amazing. They say the last concert there in 2019, they played it as well, Stanlow, and it's just amazing. It makes your heart go. You know what I mean? It's just a great song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been at the Pink Museum, Motor Museum. It's had different names. With a fan gathering when Andy and Paul announced that they were going to get back together and continue. So firsthand, and that was a good moment. And of course, it turned into what has now become, as Neil said, a longer period of time than the original period of
but
the original formation of OMD.
But Paul, don't you think that they're actually? I need to watch. 'Cause I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but I don't know if the right word is. They're actually better now than they were when they were younger, but probably because they're a lot more wiser and older.
I think the production is better.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear there's a lot of OMD fans, and they'll talk about the old original stuff like the Peel sessions and that sort of thing. I think the production's absolutely awful. I think it's awful. I much preferred. I mean, if you compare, the original Messages with the Mike Howlett production of Messages, it's so much better when Mike Howlett produced it. So as time's gone by, I think the production has got better and better. And I thought Punishment of Luxury was unbelievably well produced.
No, I think it's a great album. I think the music in it is amazing, and when you think back to the first LP, OMD, and then the organisation, and even the Architectural Morality, and then the Punishment of Luxury, you think, these three albums could go together quite easily.
What would you say your favourite album was then, Craig?
I would say I've not really got a favourite album because it's the music. It's one album. I would say my favourite song is I've got two, maybe three, maybe no, I've got two. I'll give you two. She's Leaving, amazing. She's Leaving is an amazing record. And the other one is Julia's Song. Julia's Song, when I heard it on the LP, and you're right, and I suppose you have to remember that back in our younger days, Paul, you didn't have Spotify and digital and all the rest of it. What I had was a radio, a record player with a radio, a cassette, all on one. I got my mum's what do you call it? Book. I paid it weekly. I paid it weekly for this thing, and that sat in my bedroom, and that was proudly placed in my bedroom. So when you listen to stuff like John Peel on radio, when it wasn't even on digital, it wasn't on. It was. I don't think it was in FM at that time. It was probably on analog stuff. So you're right. The music is different now. It sounds a lot better.
I used to listen on a transistor radio, which wasn't much bigger than this phone. And it was a tinny sound. And of course, when a new song came out, I remember after having heard An Old Guy, and then I was waiting for the next album to come out, and I think it was Dave Lee Travis said that we're going to be playing the new song from OMD, and I was out with friends and lying on the grass in the summer waiting for my O-level results, and it was like. And every time the record changed because I wanted to hear this new song by OMD, and it was Souvenir. But you had to wait, and you could miss a new album if you weren't careful.
No, that's right.
You didn't have the information available to you that you have now.
No, that's right. You used to get your information for NME or the hit,
Smash
hits and stuff like that. You got it for magazines rather than for anywhere else. But I mean, at that time there was a great music scene. I think it was the best music scene at that time. Even up here in Scotland, I remember going to you've got a wee pub in Greysmouth, the Maharat, it's now closed. But they used to have all the Scottish bands used to play there for £1. It cost you. I'd seen Simple Minds for £1 before they became famous. H2O, Fiction Factory, all these bands were all,
Fiction Factory, they
go and see them,
supported
eh?
them big one
You
time.
know, so the music at that time, I thought was great. I was never a punk person. I couldn't really get my head around punk rock. I just think I wrote it nonsense. Just somebody battering a drum and stringing a guitar. But when synthesizer came out, I quite liked Roxy Music and I quite liked Pink Floyd and that stuff. But I always thought that OMD just took it that bit further than, and I just thought that they were great. They were absolutely
I didn't really have a
anyway.
favourite band until OMD came around. I
Yeah.
won a competition in Smash Hits, which was a record grab in HMV in London, and picked up 59 albums and had my
Oh
picture.
my god.
I had my picture in Smash Hits with all these albums. But, that,
I,
that,
I'll tell you about it. When I used to go to concerts in Glasgow, I went to go and see bands like Kid Creole and the Coconuts and stuff like that. Hey, I mean,
a good band.
right? You
It was
didn't.
good.
You didn't have it. Well, it was good, but the concert was pretty poor. But anyway, I mean, apart from that, it was. You didn't have a favourite band, and as you say, and then OMD came along, and just the whole music just took me. That first concert, standing, watching, listening to the music just took me, blew me away. When your Stanlows, your Promise, your Almost, your Julius songs, that kind of stuff. At that age, when you think of that age, I mean, I was what, 16, 17 at that age time. That music was different from music you were hearing in the charts. You know what I mean? That's what made it
Yeah.
different for you. You know what I mean? Made it different from me. It stood out. And
I,
I've got to
always,
say, when I look back.
I always remember I'd have friends and I'd talk about OMD and they'd say, oh, all their music sounds the same. And I say, okay, listen to Electricity and then listen to Joan of Arc and tell
Yeah,
me all their music sounds the
yeah,
same.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you've realised, I don't know if it's the same down in England, but in Scotland now, you used to get tickets to go and see OMD with no problem. See now you've got 15
More
minutes.
difficult now, yeah.
You've got 15
Aye.
minutes and they're sold out. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, God. And then the last concert we were at in
Oh,
2019,
aye.
with all these people sitting and they were starting to sing Almost. And this guy behind decided to say, "Oh, that's one of their new songs." I went, "What? I mean, what? Shut. 40-year-old that song is it? So it just shows you that people. I think a lot of it is because they started doing festivals and doing gigs outside. Because we've been to see them at
Rewinds and
Rewind and
that.
other places, eh? And it's amazing when the place is it's empty, but the people are in the bar and then O&D playing. Next thing they're all out in front of the stage listening to music. So that shows the difference. And then you hear people talk about how good it is, and then they're buying tickets. So
Aye.
it is more difficult now to get an OMD ticket than it was when it was
Yeah.
in the last couple of years, well, last 5 years maybe. I don't know about yourself. Don't know if you'd agree, Neil.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring a couple of quick shout outs. So I just pulled up a quick comment here from Neil over on Facebook,
Lovely.
who's saying his wife loves Paul singing "What Have We Done,"
Yeah,
which
great song.
which is about the death of a dog.
Yeah,
I'm gonna come up with a memory in a minute, Paul, because you've just jogged my memory about something what happened in that friend's OMD party we did in Altrincham. I'll come to that in a moment, and also to Seth Freinlander over on YouTube. Yeah, thank you for joining us. So, Paul, I'm sorry, I can't remember how many OMD parties we've done and put on. So, one of the things I think we should all try and remember, and you may not have knew about this, Craig, was there was a fan at the days of the fanzines.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Right.
I don't know whether you were aware of the
Nah,
Telegraph fanzine.
no, no.
So yeah, so there was this fanzine that Paul Brown and Phil Marsh sort of ran, and that really held. That was the glue that held those fans together in those dark years before the internet. And then obviously we had John and Mike Humphreys from the OMD Information
Mhm.
Service. So I did. If you go onto the Facebook group up on the announcements, there is a pinned interview I did with Jan and Mike. I'm still very much in touch with those two guys, and they were absolutely amazing, holding all the fans together in those very dark years when the band split up. But Paul at Altrincham, so we had Paul Humphreys and Claudia Brooken come. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Right. So the dog that they had. We had to make arrangements because they brought their dog with them, and there was more like a green room for a dog, if you like, which nobody knew about this dog that they
No, I didn't know.
had. So when obviously this song came out, I'm not too sure whether it was about the same dog and who had custody of the dog, whether it was Paul or Claudia. But then what actually happened in Altrincham, and very few people actually know this. So we'd arranged for Paul Humphreys to come along with Claudia, and then unbeknown to everybody else on the Sunday, everybody thought we were going to go and do a sightseeing tour in Liverpool, but we'd arranged to see Andy. And we did a bit of a, well, you know, Paul, you haven't seen Andy for so many years, and Andy, you're not seeing Paul, and you've not been seen to. Go, you're only 40 minutes apart. You know, you says, go on, and we winged that. We pulled that off on that Saturday afternoon. That was unplanned, whether or not we could actually wing it. And I'd like to think, to some extent, that party was actually that properly brought Paul and Andy together, and the dog. So yes, not many people actually fully know that. Yeah, that story, but yeah, yeah, the dog. Right, guys, I'm going to start to wind it up here. So thanks everybody for sort of joining us and tuning in. This will be available to watch over on Facebook or on YouTube at a later date. So yeah, wonderful to have had you both. So Craig and Singer, do you want to bid a farewell?
Oh,
Well, thanks very much for inviting us on here, and thank you for letting us talk.
Yep.
Bye.
How's that?
And Paul,
Short
do
and
you want to
sweet.
say
That's
a
me, Andy.
farewell?
I'd like to say hello to anybody in the OMD community that knows me from past events, and I hope you're all doing okay. And thanks for doing this, Neil. I've enjoyed doing it. And nice to meet you, Craig and Singer.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet everyone. Yeah.
I do intend when I come back in the autumn to see what the situation is, but we will have another OMD fan party at some stage. You know, that's yeah, we will have. So I hope you can come and join us. Where we're going to do that, I don't know, but we will do another one.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and all being well, in a few weeks we're going to be doing a live with Andy and Paul as well. So
Good.
look out for a message, and if you want to put in any
Yeah.
questions, we'll be putting a post up on Facebook about that one. Guys, absolutely amazing to have had you here, and yeah, that's absolutely zoomed by. Brilliant and great, I think, for people out there to put faces to fans. So